Welcome back. Let's continue now with the reaction for the Matric results that we saw coming in yesterday. And for more on this, we're now joined by Professor Mbulungeni Madiba, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Education at the University of Stellenbosch. Professor, thank you so much for joining us this evening here on SABC News. I mean, yesterday we saw the Minister there of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, announcing the Matric pass rate, a pass rate of 82.9%. An increase when it comes, if you compare to the class of 2022. What do you make of the results of the class of 2023?
No, thank you very much for inviting me to your show, and thanks to the viewers. You know, I think we really need to congratulate the 2023 class, Matric class. I think they've done well. I mean, especially if we consider where they come from. You know, that I think when COVID broke out in 2021, these learners were doing others grade 9 and grade 10. So I think really they have really worked hard to get this far. So we really need to congratulate them. And also, of course, to recognize our system that if you see that it's consistently growing, you know, 10 years ago, we were really in the 60s. Now it's growing up. I mean, so there is consistency. I think the system is stabilizing.
Yeah, and I
can say.
I was coming to that point. I mean, we heard the minister there just before we went to the ad break, and she was saying, I mean, the results of 2023 are a testament to the fact that, you know, the education system in South Africa has stabilized, and you share the same sentiments.
Yes, I share the same sentiment. It is stabilizing, but you know, in as much as we're celebrating 82.9, remember there are many kids who couldn't make it to grade 12. You know, from this cohort that is in grade 12 now, I think maybe 40% of kids didn't make it here. So we are celebrating, but I think we know the system is still facing a huge challenge. Yeah,
and of course, as we talk about stabilization of the education sector, at the same time, you know, a number of people and experts would always question the quality of the matrics we are producing. And, you know, when it comes to the class of 2023, we saw a record number of bachelor passes, more than 282,000 matriculants obtaining that bachelor pass. And how do you evaluate that when it comes to the quality of matriculants that you know, the education system is able to produce?
Yeah, look, you see, I think the most important thing is that we should not just see exams as the end in itself. It's just a reflection of the learning that have taken place. But I think the biggest question that people have is a kind of competencies which these learners have. You know, in as much as they've they've achieved these results, what are they able to do? What are the competencies they've gained? You remember when this system, especially when CAP started, even when the national curriculum status was introduced, the NEC started, we were not so sure about the competencies, whether it's equipping our learners with the kind of competence that we need. You remember that, I mean, that time I was at UCT, we introduced the national benchmarking test, which was a totally different kind of test, which measures not what students have achieved, but what they can be able to do. But over the years now, we are starting to see the magic between the national benchmarking test, things that were used to assess competence, we to assess through national benchmarking test, and what the national exam, the NEC, is doing now. So it's now becoming a better predictor of competence that students and learners have. So I think when we talk about quality, we need to think much not of what are marks, but think in terms of competencies which these learners have achieved. So I think it's now, there is an established, acknowledged fact that it's becoming a reliable predictor. So if, for example, a learner has achieved a bachelor, so now we can say with certainty that that bachelor will be able to allow the student to learn in higher education, you know, for a degree. So the system is getting us to that at the moment now. So I think in terms of quality, we can say with certainty that it's becoming a predictor competencies which the learners have acquired here.
And Professor, earlier on you alluded to the fact that this is a group of matriculants that faced a number of challenges during their schooling term, and that would be that 5-year period, because I mean they were the unfortunate group of pupils in this country that had to deal with COVID-19. What does it say about the contingency measures that were put in place to ensure that these pupils continue to get a quality and good education despite the world facing that COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, look, I think, we, not one person, not only government, I think parents, also worked very hard to make sure that there is learning taking place at home in those spaces where they are. So I think it took really collaboration, working together, as a nation, working together, with parents. So the department came up with different measures. Somewhere they succeeded, in other measures they couldn't succeed. But I think really the credit must go to the learners themselves.
Yeah.
This class has developed resilience. They developed resilience, and I think that kind of resilience we have developed will go a long way.
And earlier on in the week, when we spoke to you, I mean, we touched a bit on the Free State Department and the Free State Province when it comes to their matriculants. I mean, they've been able to retain that #1 spot. This is 5 times in a row. What does it say about, that province and what they are doing to ensure that their province continues to excel better than the others?
I will come back to the same point. Leadership. Leadership has always proven to be a main factor. You see, where there is leadership, strong leadership, and leadership becomes a culture. If an area, like Free State, I think they really had a very good leadership, and that leadership has left a culture of hard work, culture of dedication, and I think the challenge is to maintain that kind of leadership. And you will see, that's why we were concerned with the grade 10, that if you're starting to see a drop with the grade 10s, it's a signal. It shows you that that those grade 10s, if we don't really do something, you will find that when they get to grade 12, then the standard might drop. So I think it's just a warning sign, that I think they should really look at the system as a whole and encourage people to work hard. But the training for which they give to teachers, it's quite unique. I mean, they've got a particular approach which other provinces are not really having.
And
when just maintain that kind of hard work.
Yeah. And Professor, basically just looking at, this group of matriculants, and of course, while we do celebrate them, we do know that there are still challenges facing the education sector. I mean, you alluded to the fact that not everyone who started grade 1 made it all the way to matric in 2023. Where do you think that the education sector can improve to ensure that no child is left behind and that we have all these children who are able to matriculate and get that certificate?
Yeah, retention remains a problem. How do we keep learners in class? We know that we face triple challenges. The challenge of poverty, which is a reality, and that together with that, there is the issues of socio-economic problems, where learners really, in some environment, it's just become practically impossible for those learners really to stay in school. Hunger, it's a reality. We saw that during COVID, that learners who used to get a feeding scheme from school were starving at home. So I think we really need to continue making sure that those learners coming from disadvantaged background, they are supported. They are supported. Feeding scheme is a good one of them. Transport, scholar transport. There are learners who travel long distances, long hours to get to school, and also travel hours after school. So scholars transport, which government is doing. So those are some of the things that I think government will say we have been doing. We provided feeding schemes, we provided scholar transport, which they're giving now. But one just pray that that should really continue. We should not reach a point where we could not really provide that kind of services.
Professor, thank you so much.
We just need to support those learners. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you here on the Late Edition. That is Professor Mbulungeni Madiba, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Education at the University of Stellenbosch, providing us there with more reaction when it comes to the class of 2023 that obtained an 82.9% pass rate.